Let's get into it. This is what people came here for. We left them on a huge cliffhanger last episode. You're right about to get into the Maui stuff. I guess you have some theories, or I don't know, whatever you want to call. You think you know what happened, what really happened with the Maui wildfires.
Like the only practical explanation.
Yeah, and you like did a lot of research. This is not like something you heard anywhere. You like went on your own to like find information.
I learned everything on Hawai'i.gov.
So what did you learn? Tell us.
Okay,
educate us.
The issue stems back, and it starts over 130 years ago. It starts here in Hawaii. Like electricity was born here, just like Aloha, just like everything. So many people don't know that the first ever electricity company that could distribute electricity, monetize it, and have it paid for was created by King Kalakaua and Claus J. Spreckles. People don't understand that sugarcane factories are historic monuments and cannot be torn down because they are a part of the birth of electricity generation and distribution, not because they're a sugarcane facility. There could be secret, things hidden within them that were altered a certain way for electricity function. And the way that they were able to generate electricity was from the water diversion techniques that they developed, which created all water diversion techniques and hydroelectric generation globally. The Hoover Dam was inspired by what King Kalakaua did. Every dam created was inspired by the EMI, the East Maui Watershed, which is a joint collaboration between like the bishops, First Hawaiian Bank, Kalakaua, everybody. It was good intentions at first. And I can't read this anywhere, but when you think about Game of Thrones level checkmate, if the Hawaiians are being overran by foreign interests, the only way to control economy growth and land control would be to control the water, right? That's the only way. And I feel they spent a lot of time doing that, especially during the time of the overthrow until we became a state, which was like 60 years. If Hawaiians control the water, they can control the land. And the way that water is controlled is very interesting because so many entities own fractions of the trail the Vai goes on. There's someone that owns the hydroelectric generator that pumps the ground and sucks the water out, which was installed super long time ago, and different variations are reinstalled by helicopters. Then there's the introducing of Chinese engineers that Kalakaua saw during his trip to the Great Wall of China. Imagine seeing the Great Wall. The Great Wall of China is 12,000 miles long. That's like California to New York and back, and then some more. How the hell did they build that wall? That I don't know. But imagine our king seeing that. Who built this and where can I find some people? Because our king knew that water control, diversion is the way of life. The Aupua systems, like that is the first form of water diversion. So he brings the Chinese back here. They bring Chinese, they start building Chinese tunnels. But these things are miles, 60, 50 miles into the mountains. They come from the source of the water. Like these Chinese went hard. Like you can find them deep, 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 deep up Mauka and Kauai. There's Chinese tunnels, carved Chinese lettering from centuries ago, or from a century ago. Mm-hmm. Like the innovation that our King Kalakaua saw was so vast. People write him off to he had a spending problem. No, he has my problem. My visions exceed my budget, right? And he is responsible for creating electricity. Electricity
or bringing
generation.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and distribution. We can control this flow and give it to you. And the reason why the Iolani Palace was the first palace to be lit is because Kalakaua, when he came back from his trip around the world, I know this in my heart, in my Hawaiian DNA, that trip around the world was to light the world because he already had his interaction with Edison prior to that. Edison gave him a box with a light bulb on it. If you spun the box like Jack in the Box, like this, it would light the bulb. So Kalakaua's ticket to go meeting the Emperor of China, the Emperor of Japan, standing at the front of Egypt pyramids, and just having this clout to go meet this king. People were enamored by our king. They respected him so much. His navy with 150 Royal Hawaiian Guard soldiers. He was just so enamored. But why? Not because he's just a Hawaiian king. He had something, and he had that light bulb. The whole world had never seen a light bulb before. Can you imagine pulling up to the shores and saying, "I have the future"?
It's magic. And
so that he gave everyone the consciousness, and in the process, he found a way to generate it. Because in Kalakaua was a 32-degree Freemason, highest Grand Master level you can fathom. Kalakaua's genes, according to the Lāhainā school of mystery, which would be sorcery, hula, botany, it says a Solomon's Temple abbreviation. The pillars and the cornerstone were laid. The foundation was sealed with pili grass on top. The temple of science and the chiefs was now born from the mystic lineage and bloodline dating back 925 chiefly generations to the beginning of the time of the Kumalipu. Kane Kalakaua, chief number 1. 9 quadrillion years to the creation of the earth. It says, it looks like 9 trillion, but it's quadrillion to the creation of the earth, the time of the Kapo Mano Mano. Do you know what velo is? W-E-L-O?
Like Kavelo, Kala, like the...
It says during the time of velo, V-E-L-O, and lai lai. I don't know what these words are. This is Hawaiian Latin fuses that are words I've never heard of, but Kalakaua wrote it. So this school of the chiefs is about the creation of electricity. How do we manage this creation of this god power? And it was created through the sorcery. The hula was a straight up sorcery. It's so crazy. Kalakaua would be dancing all night, just casting spells. It was so beautiful, bro. And so this electricity and what happened in Lāhainā, all of these things start with Kalakaua, start with the fall of Hawai'i. Hawai'i owned the IP of electricity. Hawaiian Electric very well might be the first electric company ever created. I don't know exactly, but Kalakaua did create the first distribution of it. You can go look in the Nu'uanu stream today at the brackets that still remain of what they created to funnel the water to power the palace and the streetlights. Imagine if Hawai'i owned the IP to electricity generation. You own the IP to water diversion, hydroelectric generation, and you own the IP to monetizing these things. They did. So, America didn't care about this as a military location until far later, into World War II, when they martial lawed it. You see, if they cared, they would have martial lawed us a long time ago, right? They realized the strategicness. America, during the time, I spoke to a lot of archivists, they were very racist about Hawai'i. They didn't want Hawai'i at all. America wanted nothing to do with us. That's why it took 60 years. There were just a few people in power, like we have now, that wanted their sugarcane businesses to thrive. And through their power and money and influence, they remained in that situation of the Republic and continued forward what Kalakaua had built. And that's that. But they did have the license and the IP to this technology. That's why Edison came over here, because he was like, wait, what? Let me try it. Let me install it. Let me see if it works. And it worked. So a lot of Hawaiians got to understand, you're a part of that, right? And a lot of the higher ups know that. All the big time people know that. And as we go through the century, we see time and time again, Hawai'i is a place of innovation in the field of that electricity. And this goes up really high. And, a lot of people are very concerned about this information I'm about to tell you. And honestly...
Who are the people that are concerned?
What's that?
Sorry, I'm drinking. Who are the people that are concerned?
Just regular people who know nothing about who they're even concerned about.
Or the people who might be at fault could be concerned.
I never spoke to anyone that would be at fault. Over time, over the last year since I figured it out, I had all my theories of who to blame. But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone's responsible other than the people who have control over the one thing that needs to be done, which is the government state of Hawaii, particularly the upper cabinet of the governor's office, which is about saving the budget, right? The budget has been asked for by everybody, by the people who control the generation of the power, by the people who install the power poles, by everybody. They've asked for this budget for I think it's 195 million to reinstall poles and all that. So now we'll get into what happened on the day of that fire through my research into purely Hawaii.gov and the history of electricity that I just told you, from them trying to carry on that legacy without Kalakaua, without Thomas Edison, right? No one's Thomas Edison today. And so innovation can't be taking place. So like, we'll start with this fact. Lāhainā is a census designated electricity test zone for the proper execution, recreation, and monetization of photovoltaic generation of electricity. Photovoltaic is solar panels. Hydroelectric generation is water diversion, which there is tons of up in those mountains. I satellite Google map that whole place, or Google, like the proper satellite, like the highest subscription you can find. Over time, I found about 300 private reservoirs just in the 5 miles of Lahaina's area. These water diversions, there is a entity that pumps it, okay? And they just own the aquifer. Then as the land goes on, it's state land, leased by other entities who control the diversions of the flow. The waterfalls in West Lāhainā are all fake. The waterfalls that fall are diverted to fall there. And when they fall, they go right into the golf course, right into the rich neighborhood, everywhere except for Lāhainā. So the Kohoma stream is dry. It's channelized, and there is this cement channel with a little stream of water running through it. Lahaina's an aquifer. So I don't know this exactly, but there is a very strong possibility that cement channelization is also something to do with an underground generation of power. I don't know. That's something I don't know.
I heard back in the day when after all this happened that it used to be a wetland. Lahaina used to be a wetland.
Yeah, because of the Kohoma stream.
Yeah, and then it just dried up because of
the water diversion. Mm-hmm. They sent the water to the other places.
Yeah. So why though? Did they ever
for
say
agriculture?
Why?
So the Kohoma stream, the Kohoma hydraulic unit, which is the pump that sucks the water out of the Kohoma aquifer, that water used to flow down that thing and be a forever waterfall, because the water out of the Kohoma stream, the Kohoma aquifer, is the second wettest place on earth. So when you got Josh Green talking about climate change, the droughts, bro, this is what I can't stand about the government, bro. You guys are lying to us. There is no such thing as a drought in Maui. It's called an agricultural drought, meaning the systems that control the diversion of the water, or the pumping or the water pumps, cannot fulfill the demand of the water needed. Agricultural drought. Lāhainā Mountains, where the Kohoma aquifer is the second wettest place on earth, next to Waialeale. Last year alone, there was around 460 inches of rain. In the mountains that they are saying there is a drought and climate change is affecting everything. There is no climate change. There is no drought. There is simply water diversion.
And where are you getting this information?
Hawaii.gov.
It's all there.
Yeah, the reports on everything. Who owns the diversions? Who pumps the water? And honestly, I don't care who owns those things. I care about who controls them. And who controls them, unfortunately, is our government. Is not even the feds, our state. The feds are pissed off about their management of it. So it just goes to this fact. That's what the problem of the water is. It's not West Maui Land Company. It's not who owns the water pumping. It's not nothing. The state of Hawaii has power to fix it immediately.
So
the land between the town and the aquifer is owned by the state.
So in your mind, were the Lahaina wildfires intentional?
No.
It was an accident that could have been prevented.
Yeah, but they had over 10 times to learn. Since 2016, when the bill, the renewable green bill or whatever the hell that thing is, to go completely dependent on, what is it called?
Solar?
Renewable energies.
Oh, okay.
So since 2016, to go completely, since 2016, to go completely dependent on renewable energies, it would take photovoltaic, which is solar, hydroelectric, which is wave water and water diversion power. Leonardo da Vinci spinning the wheel, the first ever generation of electricity that Kalakaua created. Wind turbine, which are those big ass windmills. And then biomass, which is using biometrics to fund energy via steam and power generation of plastic and crap like that. So for the first time in Hawaii's history, we are somehow 2 years ahead of our goal. When have we been 2 years ahead of anything, right? So that just already is weird. When you look at the documents in Hawaii.gov, the Mo'alaia subdivision was one of the last. Mo'alaia is the subdivision that powers Lāhainā. Is one of the last power plants to have gas generators. The Mitsubishi ones they have are from 1970, and they said they have a year and a half of parts left. The green bill thing, the renewable energy bill, does not allow them to get new parts financed by the government or even by their own Hawaiian Electric. They're not allowed to fix or order new generators. They have to hit the mark and be renewable. Indefinite, right? So you have a year and a half of parts left. You're legislatively not allowed to buy anything else, nor replace those generators. You need to figure it out and make it renewable. So what does that cause? It's forced to do something, right? So we'll take it to here now. Now that you know the elements of the water diversion, the water diversion is diverted to agricultural areas such as the golf course, such as the rich communities, such as the coffee farms. The waterfalls in Lāhainā are fake. They are pumped there by tunnels built by the Chinese that Kalakaua brought here a long time ago. The biggest reason Lāhainā is dry is because they've completely stopped the flow of water through the Kohoma stream. And there's only one little stream of water that goes through there, and it goes through our Lo'i field, which was being argued about on the news, right? They wanted to take that water, and they were like, no, you have to ask the Hawaiians. And then that caused an uproar. But that really was a water grab. Or was it something for us to trigger our attention towards something? I don't know. But
a diversion.
Yeah. All I know is that water goes to us. Whatever stream is left there. All I know is that they killed the entire O'opu population, the entire Vaivi population, the entire native prawns population. The DLNR and the EMI, East Maui Watershed Project, was owned by Alexander Baldwin, who was a very good guy, by the way. Original Alexander Baldwin was one of the biggest advocates for Hawaiians ever. Like, he really helped. He got the nation back when England took control of it because violence was being permitted on us and we didn't know what to do with our land. He was one of the owners of that thing. They sold it to a Canadian company. And when I read the bill of sale, it was basically like, here, but we still control it. So a Canadian company owns the EMI, but they keep controlling it. The problems with these lineal descendants of Alexander Baldwin are the descendants. They don't know their culture. They don't care. They just want money. The problems we face are the new generations who lost their way. The generations that attend certain private schools that don't teach them about Hawaiian culture, but more teach them about what Hawaiians should be in a religious structure, right? Our religion, our God is the land. If you ain't respecting that, then you're not a Hawaiian. Right? And so when we see individuals greenlighting really bad development things, it's because they don't have any history in their mind about what their culture represents. How are they supposed to have aloha if they don't know anything about the culture? I've spoken to so many of these politicians, so many of these people in power. When I tell them our stories, they cry. They ask, why were we not taught this in our school? That's for all, whatever schools they went to that were Native Hawaiian strictly. And I say, I don't know. Why were you not given the opportunity to learn your own culture at a school but you learned it, right? What's your school called?
Ke kula o Nāwahi o Kalani o Pu'u.
Yeah. And I honestly believe that these schools, just like Princess Ruth's school for the chiefs, that was created to teach these special bloodlines how to become leaders. The schools that have been created for Hawaiians now were created by the Big Five. And the Big Five created them to pull back the relentless passion for our land, to create generations that would be more lenient to change. That is 100% fact. You know what I'm saying? And so, in the end of the day, knowing the history will know that we can change things. But if you don't teach it, you'll never know how to change it. But I know how to change it. And I'm not here to throw anyone under the bus. I'm here to shed light on why things are happening. And the number one reason is because Hawaiians in power do not know their own culture. That's why they're afraid for our elites to go up. Because if our elites go up and people start to understand what they've done and who they are, they will begin to know more than the people in power.
It's like they almost want us to stay ignorant to our history.
Because they don't know it yet.
So
We learn at their
their
pace.
ignorance which is causing our ignorance.
Yes, it's at their pace.
Yeah.
When they feel like learning enough, then we can learn. But until then,
So they're like, we don't want you to know more than us.
yes,
So you can't learn.
100%. That's a fact. Whether they know it or not, that's what's happening. And that's why there's less speaking Olelo people than in the history of mankind.
Well, now
Yeah.
there's more since when it almost died out.
When?
Since they reinstated it in the 70s and the schools in the 80s and stuff like that.
Oh, because it was like barely any.
It got to a point where it was about maybe 2,000 native speakers, and now there's probably like 20,000 native speakers. I don't know about
In the
native
last
speakers
year?
or people that
Fluent
speak Hawaiian.
Olelo, there's only like a couple thousand that speak pure.
No, there's
Yeah?
more than that. But people who are native Hawaiian.
Okay.
It's a smaller demographic.
Yeah.
But people who speak Hawaiian, there's probably about 20,000.
Okay, great. Okay.
People who are not native,
Still
included.
10,000 before we go extinct.
I think it got down, if I remember, it got down to about 2,000 native speakers. This was probably in the before the 70s or in the 70s.
After the Hawaiian Homelands Bill.
And then when they created the Hawaiian language preschools, that's when it started to increase.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So I'm in
Are we
the
talking
second decade.
pure speaking? Pure speaking?
Are you talking about like fluent speakers?
Yeah, fluent.
Okay, but not pure blooded.
No, like pure
Yeah.
Olelo, like
Fluent
speaking,
speakers, yeah. I mean,
cool.
I would. That's up to the person that if they want to say they are fluent in a language. I don't even say I'm fluent in like certain languages that I've learned.
Do you think you're fluent in Olelo? Like,
Oh yeah, I mean that's easy. It's my first language. Like,
okay, that's perfect.
I don't need.
How many of them
it
are?
every day.
How many of you are there?
Now, I mean, with the kids and the new generations coming up, I would safely say about 20,000.
Oh, that's good. That's cool. That's still 10,000 less than when we were extinct 130 years ago.
Yeah.
And there's 650,000 Hawaiians.
Yeah.
There's only 30,000 back then.
Well, yeah, if we're going by blood, like, are you Hawaiian? Do you know the language? There's not a lot. Because there's a lot of people who aren't Hawaiian learning the Hawaiian language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So when there's 30,000 alive, 30,000 spoke. Today there's 650,000 and
Maybe
20,000 speak.
Which I don't know the percentage
But that's
of that.
crazy
Let's say
ratio. That's
it's
terrible.
Under 10%.
It's terrible.
It's under 5%.
Yeah. And so it's a terrible ratio under whose leadership, right? The generation that leads us that's been in power since like literally 1980.
Yeah.
Same thing. So they started off good. They started off ambitious, and then they got stuck in their corporational ways. It's the very thing that led us to Lāhainā happening.
Yeah.
And not just Lāhainā, Palisades too.
Well, I would say all the good things that has happened with Hawaiian culture and Hawaiian language are from small groups that created a movement.
Yeah, like Hanani and Mililani.
Yeah. And then, Pila Wilson,
Yeah.
Kaunoi Kamana, Kiki Kawaiʻaia, Larry Kimura.
George Helm guys.
All of them.
Yeah.
Well, not even, this is just with the language, not the sovereignty movement.
The foremost authority is German.
Yeah. And then, I mean, there's even, I'm trying to get him on the podcast. Oh my gosh, why can't I think of his name?
German?
No, dang it, I don't know why I can't think. I'm trying to get him on the podcast. Anyway, this British guy that speaks Hawaiian. I don't know. I'm
Is that
blanking
the
on his
one who
name.
has the son, Kaliki?
I don't know.
Is he the authority?
No.
Okay,
This is
okay,
just a teacher. And
Uh-huh.
anyways, I'm trying to get him on the podcast. February is Hawaiian language month, so I'm trying to get some Hawaiian language speakers.
I'll get that German.
Anyways, so going back to the whole Lāhainā stuff.
Yeah.
So this
happens because,
so everything that has happened
this happens because of the lack of education.
They knew what was going on. That, for example, let's compare to the Palisade fires. Okay, that happened a couple weeks ago. It's still going on. I don't know if it's gonna stop. Like, I don't know if they can control it. I see clips from Joe Rogan that said he was saying that he's talking to this firefighter, and they're saying if they don't do anything, like, it's just gonna take the perfect storm, high winds, and there's gonna be basically what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And they predicted that months ago.
Yeah. But they don't say what causes it.
Yeah, but
Every fire.
But they
is
know
caused,
that if they don't change anything, this is gonna happen.
Oh yeah, taking it to the green bill.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you're saying our government knew if they didn't do anything, if they didn't divert water, if they didn't fix these photovoltaic
It's
energy
just one
stuff,
thing they have to fix.
but they knew if they didn't fix that,
It can happen.
it
100%. 100%. They don't know what can happen, like the extent, but they saw clearly what happened.
They just so they didn't. They probably weren't expecting
how many fires happened
that
in Lāhainā
to happen
until that one. Since 2016, there has been a fire twice the size of the Lāhainā one in the mountains. Every year they decided to go to renewable energy. Every year except for COVID. COVID healed the land. I have satellite imagery of it. It is more clear and more green than I've ever seen Lāhainā in over 50 years. All the imaging of the satellites that you can see all the way to the 1970s, Lāhainā is more green in 2020 than it has ever been since like literally old Hawaii, because the agriculture stopped and everyone stopped for a second. There was no fire either, not one. But since 2016 till now, there is a fire every year. 2018, it burned houses ever since the renewable energy bill went into play. And now the ignition sites of these fires, you can find them all in the satellite imaging, and it's all boils down to some piece of shit pole that gets blown over because no one can maintain these poles up Mauka. How are you going to get up there? Property after property after property is owned by different people, right? It's the laws, and it's just the system is so bad. Like you see all these articles about the firefighters fighting these mountain fires. They were caused because the firefighter couldn't get in to put it out, right? But you only have a small window because once that pole falls, it's a domino effect. So in the mountains, you ever notice the fires go out at night? The fires are always put out at night, right?
How? Just because it's cooler?
The sun stops shining on the solar panels, powering the energy going through them. So those telephone poles in the mountains are transferring energy from the solar fields to the grid inversion substations. So like you either have a substation or you have a power plant. In Lahaina's case, it was Maui. Maui is over 15 miles away from Lāhainā. There's a transmission line, a big, thick energy line that transfuses that Lahaina Luna solar farm up there. It sends the energy, which is direct current, 3 megawatts, which is 3,000 homes, in that transmission line all the way to the Malaya subdivision. The Malaya subdivision inverts it to AC, because that's direct current, which is a million volts. AC is 500,000. So it goes to the Malaya, inverts it, and it sends it back. All the energy included in that trip to Malaya is also all the homes with solar panels in Lāhainā. Homes, when you look at a neighborhood, it's covered in solar panels. You're looking at a solar farm. All that energy doesn't go to your house. It goes to the transmission line, sends it to the substation that is the power plant, inverts it to AC, and sends it back to you. So for Lahaina's power to take place, the energy must go to Malaya and it must come back. Now, in the case of the fire, Hawaiian Electric said, we caused the first fire, but not the second. Okay, when people say things on the news and in the newspaper, they're submitting it for the record as if it's a court litigation. They also said that the system that protects the homes and isolates the problem where the fault has happened, the arc was either was turned off or was operational. I'm not too sure, but that is what led me to find out how it could have taken place, to why Lahaina Luna community was untouched and the other divisions beneath it were burnt to the ground. So at 6 p.m. or 6 a.m., the Hawaiian films the fire taking place, and there's like cords blowing out electricity, and it's got white smoke. Understand, white smoke is electric fire. Black is wood. Lahaina is pure white. The whole thing is white smoke. So the guy, oh, fire over here, called the fire department. Does that look like a normal fire to you? The ground is steaming. There's electric fire and smoke coming out of the ground. There's no flames. There's just a wire spraying electricity everywhere. That's called an arc. It's arcing because a pole that is directly next to the substation that does this. It's a circuit, right? The pole next to it, which is responsible for the solar farm behind it, Solar farm generates energy, sends it to the substation. Substation prepares it for the transmission line, sends it to Malaya. Malaya sends it back to the Lāhainā substation. The pole right next to that thing fell, sending an arc both directions, down and to that substation. That substation has something called an inverter. The inverter helps to invert the power or transmutes the power. I don't have the exact details, but there is a system in place there that helps aid an inverter of some sort, getting the inverter the electricity or making sure it has a breaker to stop it. Solar farms can't be turned off. They have to be taken away through their connection to the grid. So when that pole fell, there's something, have you ever noticed when the lights go off, they go on 30 seconds later and they turn off? A few attempts, like your power will go out. When your power goes out, count to 30. It will go on for 5 seconds, then shut down again. If your area is where that pole fell, your electricity is not going on. But everyone else outside of your area, your electricity will go back to normal. That is a relay, because if someone's looking for where the pole fell, they'll notice that up there is dark. That's where the pole fell. That's a relay system that was created a couple decades ago. So that relay system consists of that substation. So if the pole falls down in Lahaina Luna, no power will go to Lahaina Luna. Okay? Notice how at exactly 6 hours later, they see another fire happen up there. We didn't cause the second one. What happens is that the energy from the solar farm, no one's stopping it. Over 80 poles have fallen down. The Lahaina transmission line, the Malaya, is effectively been cut off. They said that. It's shut down. So how are the lights on in Lahaina? How is there power? How are transformers blowing up? There's no power. The one by the airport is not completed yet. So the only power that can come into Lahaina has to be from the Malaya subdivision, but it's shut down. The Malaya power plant is a part of the Alexander Baldwin contract to sell the EMI. They say in the contract, we are asking to reserve a piece of land to create the Malaya power plant. It's wild. It's all from the document of the sale. That Malaya power plant is responsible for all of West Maui's power. If the power plant has been shut down, where is the power? Where can power come from? The only place it comes from is the solar farm, which was created by Keon Energy in the mainland, who also controls it. How are they going to control that solar farm if it's arced its systems from the pole next to it falling down? It fried everything. You need a Wi-Fi connection to turn it off. So California is completely paralyzed from disabling this generator of 3,000 homes. So at exactly, 3 when the fire started? It was 6 hours from 6 in the morning. Every 3 hours, the relay will attempt to go on again. If no one's tending to it, then no one can stop it from doing it. If it's been arced and the systems have received an arc, the whole thing is scrambled, right? So a grid operates at 60 hertz. 60 hertz is the frequency that allows these lights to be on right now. If it shifts to 61, electric fires can happen. Overheating can happen. Transformers can explode, and things could just completely get fried. 1 hertz. And that's what takes place when a pole falls. An arc disrupts the hertz. It's such a delicate thing. Now, when you have a 3,000 home generation solar farm created by a mainland company that allows us to believe that, oh, it's okay, let's just go put it through an inverter and we'll cut the 1 million volts into 500,000 volts and feed it into this poor community down here. And we'll use them as a census-designated experimental test zone to master photovoltaic energy. This isn't our doing. This isn't the private corporations that own these things. No, this is the state. Guys like Josh Green. he comes on the video. It was, climate change. That police officer, climate change, lying sacks of shit. They know exactly what happened. That mayor in Maui had no idea what the hell was going on. That poor man had no idea that could have happened because they leave even their own in the dark. But Josh Green sure had an answer. You know what I'm saying? Because it was his bill. And so when you have the Malaya subdivision cut off and you have 3,000 homes generating energy from a 1 million volt photovoltaic system that has a messed up substation, At some point, the relay is going to get stuck. And that's what happened. Right exactly at the mark that the relay should have tripped. Now you have 3,000 megawatts, or 3,000 megawatts. Yeah, 3,000 megawatts of energy. I'm sorry. Now you have 3 megawatts of energy that is creating 3,000 homes of energy to be lit, pouring into a grid that is made to be AC alternating current. This is direct current, 1 million volts. So when you put direct current into an AC grid, it's like a nuclear bomb is going to go off. Every single thing is going to light on fire. The wires under the ground are going to immediately turn white hot, and the ground's going to start melting the tires of the cars. The ground's going to start heating up and lighting on fire. The first instance of the fire taking place is on NBC News. They're talking about the woman who had died, who was her sister, and they were putting away their stuff because there was a windstorm coming. No fire, putting their stuff away. All of a sudden they hear, help, help, help. They look over, they see this woman screaming, the ground's lighting on fire, the ground's lighting on fire. They go over there, they put the fire out, another one pops up. The grass, the ground of her home is beginning to spark up flames because the DC current is now affecting the 60 hertz frequency of the grid. And anyone near the Lahaina Luna subdivision, which was not affected, nothing in Lahaina Luna burned because the relay shuts that off. It sends all the power over the road. I have a video of the fire starting on the side of the road and just going straight to the first pole in a straight, perfect line. I have the transmission line lighting on fire perfectly straight to the first pole. And the first pole just goes, and this pure white pole just ignites like a candle. And next thing you know, it's just a hollow pole hanging from wires. The next one, and then when it does that, you notice that all the metal roofs were lighting on fire. How are steel cement buildings melting to the ground in the Palisades and in Lahaina? How are the Front Street cement building bent the opposite direction of the wind? Anything that has a line to it is hotter than you can fathom. Like a welder times double. 1 million watts of energy pouring into every home like a domino. So every time a pole falls, that home gets a surge of direct current because the DC is now in the lines. And then the DC will pour into their home, lighting their electric meter on fire and lighting their roof on fire because the wire would go to the roof. Then when that happens, the frequency is affected and the walls of the home, all the wires in there begin to light on fire and the home begins to burn from the inside out. And then the water lines, every home uses a water line to ground their electric component. If the DC is arcing, every water line connecting to every home becomes a channelization of electricity because it's conducting. The guys who are digging up the homes and the bodies in Lahaina, they say all the copper water is completely destroyed. Every water line in Lahaina is destroyed. How does that happen? It's only happening because it's conducting the arc. So that's why there's no water in the fire hydrants, because the poles are the pipes are melting because the water is conducting the direct current to every home. So your grounds become an interconnected web.
Wait, so are you referencing Palisades? Because I heard that there wasn't
it's
water.
It's the same thing.
That same thing happened in Lahaina where there wasn't water in the water.
Yeah, you look at Lahaina Luna, there's a solar farm above it. Lahaina's down here. You look at Palisades, you look at the mountains, right? Over those mountains is the Mojave Desert. The biggest solar distribution and generation plants in the Western Hemisphere are on the other side of the mountain of the Palisades. That energy comes directly from that desert, directly over the hill, and you notice these houses burn to ash, right? The tires melt, right? This is a result of direct current being poured into a 1970s grid that cannot handle the power of uninverted direct current. Nikola Tesla said, we need to go to DC. Thomas Edison said, no, let's go to AC, because AC causes you to reinvert the power and turn it into a 500 watts instead of, basically cut the DC in half with AC. That causes that calls for inverters, which calls for more money to be made. The more things you have to change about something, the more money you can charge. So it was basically a money grab because DC can just be generated by the sun and the wind.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are following.
So basically, in a summarized thing, the pole. Now this is not saying this happened.
This is your theory.
Not the theory. This is what took place minute by minute to explain how the fire was to do that. Everything for this to happen happened.
Was this ever confirmed by anybody, or did anybody else speak up on this on social media?
They don't know. They can't put it together. I put it together by watching the videos and seeing the electric meters on fire and seeing the roofs of the metal tin. How the hell are these houses lighting on fire? Like, it's impossible. I saw Burger Kings on fire. Dude, embers don't burn concrete. Embers don't light metal roofs on fire. Embers don't burn concrete structures and metal scaffolding within them to the ground.
So you're saying they're burned inside out, not outside in?
Inside out. The homes burn from the inside out.
Like if this is just an example of theory on 9/11, how I heard the buildings, it crumbled like this, like from
They
the
say
inside.
bombs burnt them from the inside. Yeah, they say the bombs did it.
So it felt like this, because if it was from the outside, it would collapse like this.
I don't know anything about 9/11.
No, but that's just an example of the building, how it like something from the inside came down.
Yeah,
that's why it went like that.
Yeah.
So it's same with the houses. It came like that because all the wires are inside of the house.
It's in the roof.
So it went like this.
But you have to understand, cement structures do not burn. How are the McDonald's burning to the ground in the Palisades?
I don't know the difference of fire, like an electrical fire and a regular fire started from wood. Are they different heat levels maybe? Like,
bro, it is the hottest thing you can think of. An electric fire, the metal's on fire.
Yeah.
A regular fire, wood is on fire.
Yeah. Your heat, I can see you got some,
I know I'm hot.
Yeah, your glasses.
Okay, wait. So I'm gonna summarize it in a nutshell for the Palisades and Lāhainā.
Yeah.
And okay, I guess we can call it a theory, but this can 100% happen. I'm gonna summarize it. So for Palisades and Lāhainā, what I'm saying, through professional people, like the highest level specialists in electricity, in photovoltaic, hydroelectric, wind turbine, and biomass energy, I've talked to everybody about this problem of what could happen. And I asked this, if the grid was destabilized, what would happen? They said that immediate electric fires would take place and everything would become a melting pot of unstable power that could destroy everything within the grid. When you look at Lāhainā, the grid is burnt perfectly. Lāhainā is the shape of an Eva bird. When you look at the satellite imaging of Lāhainā, you'll see an Eva bird, and its tail is the Kohoma stream. That Eva bird is now burnt to the ground and is ash. Lahaina's first name was Lele, because the land looked like it was jumping to the ocean. Now it's cruel solar heat. And when you look at it from the top, it looks like a bird. It's a phoenix. Lāhainā is a phoenix. And the ashes, under those ashes lie the truth to what happened in that place. And also under those ashes lie the future of our people and the reestablishment of our kingdom if people want to step up and do the right thing and not be afraid to say like what I'm saying right now. They didn't give us no explanation. Where's the report? How do we not have a report, but there's been a lawsuit settlement already? Now, no one's at fault other than those mainland companies telling us everything's going to be fine and the Office of Legislature that approved this to happen. Vendors, people who pay for solar generation to happen on their land, the pumping of water, none of them are at fault. At the end of the day, they can't do nothing until the legislature is passed. The legislation is the problem. And I don't care what they say, because all of these problems, like the Wai'i in Lāhainā, it's not West Maui Land Company's problem. No, before it gets to West Maui Land Company, there's land it has to travel through. That land's owned by the DLNR in the state. All right. Lāhainā is federally owned because it's a historic site. State doesn't care about Lāhainā. Right? $4 billion is given after that happens, right? The DHHL said it would cost $6 billion to end all homelessness in the entire state for over a century, meaning every person gets a house, every person gets a salary paid for by the government for a century. That rail cost $12 billion. The settlement from Lāhainā is $4 billion. How are we still having homeless Hawaiians out and about? right? You look at Lahaina, every single home that burnt never had a solar panel on it because those solar panels have inverters on them. All the Safeway, the Burger King, all the Starbucks, they have backup generators. Generators generate DC energy. Solar panels generate DC energy. An inverter has to be installed for that home or that restaurant to intake the power. So how the hell are all of these structures still standing? The only structures that do survive are either on some weird temporary power, or, so for example, my boy Preston, I went to school with here. He's a big realtor in the Palisades. He had an Instagram story of his friend just going buck wild, straight cowboy with a water hose, a garden hose. And I think he was sucking water from the ocean, but he has his dream mansion in Malibu. Fires are coming and he's just screaming, yeah, let's go. I'm gonna be here until I die, like ready to die. And he's pumping water, right? So this is where my theory got checked, where I was like, did he fight the fire off? Because if this was true, you wouldn't be able to fight the fire off, right? So I call him and I go, how did that house survive? Like, did you have some kind of like alternate power, or were you, oh, no, the house was still under construction. The only house that never burnt down wasn't hooked up to the grid. And the house next to it, because the house next to it is also a part of that.
You know what's interesting? Because I've been to Lāhainā, the site where I did
this is
thing.
Palisades I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is I went to Lāhainā to do this thing with Nickelodeon. And it was so weird to me how some houses were completely fine next to houses burnt down.
It's impossible.
So it's because they're off the grid or they had
an inverter of a solar panel thing.
The craziest thing is that
the Elon Musk Tesla inverter will save your house from burning to the ground. You know that Tesla,
because so it like bounced back.
It inverts it to AC. So, and if it doesn't, it just cuts the flow. If there's any irregularity, that Elon Musk Tesla inverter will cut the flow. So there's the Elon Musk solar panels, and then there's the K-On Energy bullshit. Right? They know what they're doing. All those fires in the mountains from 2016, 2018, houses got burned. Like, those fires are 10 times the size of Lahaina. And they're falling pole by pole by pole by pole. And the firefighters are just waiting for it to go out. You know, I feel like the firefighters are crying on the interview because they know the truth. He says, usually we win. This was so hard, right? And they're crying because they feel bad making it out alive. Like, that story they told made me so, I was crying when they're huddled. And then the one sergeant is walking around and he falls to his knees and he just doesn't want to live anymore. And he's just in the inferno of like 100-mile-an-hour wind. And then the firefighters run over there to grab the sergeant and drag him to their huddle. And they're trying to text their family and their phone screens are cracking. And they're just like huddled there. They're just like, we're going to die. And they're holding each other in this firestorm. Like, in the truck was too hot. Like, they were in the truck, the steering wheel was burning, the glass was melting. They had to get out because it was more chance to survive outside. And then they were just shelter in position. And then, like, can you imagine like holding each other and then you're looking and you see one of your captains walking aimlessly, just walking with an oxygen mask. Like, they were pulling people out of houses and their arms were just coming off. They were melting. And the trauma, the level, everyone they were trying to save in the cars there died in front of them. They're trying to pull kapuna out of the old homes and their arms were coming off. Can you imagine? So the captain was doing this and the captain lost his mind trying to save everybody. Can you imagine grabbing arms and they're just coming off?
Oh, yeah.
And so he's just walking around, I don't want to live anymore.
Yeah.
And then they're all like holding each other and they see him. And then he like collapses to the ground and they could see his knees beginning to melt. And so they grabbed him and dragged him over there.
Movie.
And then I want to make a movie about this.
Oh my god.
The youngest one of the party dipped and was like, I'm gonna save everybody. Fuck this. And he commandeered a police SUV and he drove back into the fire and was tripping the siren and pulled up on the spot and screamed for everybody to get in. And so the youngest rookie dipped to save everybody. And they were trying to open the doors and the handles were just melting immediately when they would open the car door. So they used the axe to open it.
And they all got in.
They got in, but the one captain was hanging out the side because he was unconscious, like nearly dead. But the guy survived. Burned his.
I gotta look this up. There's a video of this?
There's an interview that Chelsea Davis did about the firefighters. And they're just crying the whole time.
That's
so it's
crazy.
like, you know, whether they know or not, I don't know. But if they did know, they would sign NDAs from the government.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be allowed to say what happened. But if they're fighting it, Everyone knows that the poles are the problem. The Paradise Fire, every fire that's happened in the mountains of Hawaii. What do you think happens when those fires happen? I used to think a glass bottle with the sun shining through it lit the fire. That's what I chalk it up to, right? But when I use the Google map, I found the ignition site. Every ignition site has a pole that's fallen down. And if no one can maintain and access these piece of shit poles that are way deep in the mountains, transferring direct energy from water dams, from solar to turbine. The turbines are spinning faster than they've ever spun in their life. So you have solar in Lahaina, turbine and water diversion, and the one line sent to Malaya subdivision to store the energy and invert it is cut off. What's going to happen? In reality, where does that energy go? And Hawaii has no ability to control it. It's controlled by a company in the mainland who has to control it by means of Wi-Fi. So they weren't able to turn it off. In my opinion, I believe that the solar farm's energy fried the inversion system and everything to do with the system in place to be the breaker. And it sent its direct current directly into the AC grid built in the 1970s. And there was no possible way for the AC grid built in the 1970s to withstand the photovoltaic power of 1,000,000 volts or watts or whatever, direct current. And every home burnt from the inside out. People who had backup generations or alternate powers, homes were spared, or a miracle happened, but it was all underground. All the water lines are melted completely. All the electric meters in every home are melted completely. All the fires you can see, go look at the footage again, are burning tin roofs. Metal roofs. All the tires on the cars are melted because when a power line from a street light or the power line from the water line is inverting and arcing, if it's arcing and it's sending out that energy, the ground's going to become nuclear hot. 75 feet is the electric shock zone. 75 feet. So they say you have to shuffle your feet, right? Imagine people running into hot zones and just getting. The bodies were dissolved into dust. Like my friend guys were running for their lives and the friends behind them were like, we're not going anymore. We're too scared. And they just kept running. As soon as they could gather their breath, they went back and their friends, there was a spine and a skeleton. Like when I first got there was the day after the fire. I saw families. Everyone who died was hugging each other. Everybody. Like there was like a little baby and like a whole family. And the mom and the dad were like frozen, burnt black to a crisp, hugging a melted baby car seat. Like everyone was dead and they were hugging each other. And they didn't let anybody into Lāhainā. So I had snuck in. I went the day after and I just completely lost my mind bad. Because I couldn't believe that like they were lying so much about the death toll and about the confusion of the manipulation of their marketing. And I was telling all the Hawaiians, if you do not capitalize and go on TV and put your Venmo down or do whatever you can to exploit money from this situation because you have no other option, you're going to have nothing when this is over because the president's coming. And as soon as the president comes, this goes off air. That's the finale. When the president comes, no more coverage is happening after that. And that's why they sent him down here so fast. This is the worst natural disaster in history. You know, like the police captain is saying, oh, finally we have a clear answer about how many people are dead. And he said like 10,000 different things about like 98 this, 100 this. And then even the press was like, wait, so how many people are dead? Like, I thought this was a clear explanation. Mm-hmm. Got this guy from Las Vegas lying his ass off. Like, bro, here's the thing. 98 bodies are confirmed of who they are. Hundreds of bodies are non-existent. Dust. Like, if you went in the water and you went past 50 feet, you're dead. Bro, the water was covered in black and white electric smoke. Like, you're only safe 50 feet from the shore. If you go beyond that 50 feet, you're dead. You're gonna fucking die. It's just tornadoes of smoke and superheated air for miles out. And the one Hawaiian I talked to who was carrying his fucking grandma, he jumped in the water and he knows how to swim, but he swam almost to fucking Molokai because he was swimming back and the smoke was coming, bro. It's the saddest story, bro. He's swimming back and he's holding his grandma. And he's swimming back. And he can tell this thing he doesn't want to get caught in this wall of 1,000 feet of smoke, right? And there's a lot of people in the water. And they start to disappear one by one. And he hears them screaming. And then it just stops. And he's the only one out there alive. Like everyone he swam out there with died from suffocation above the water. Can you imagine seeing all the people that you're with and that smoke covers them and you hear them screaming and then the screaming just stops? And you get picked up holding your grandma. That guy's a soldier, bro. Like, Hawaiians suffered more traumatic. Hawaiians, Filipinos, Chinese, they're all Hawaiian, bro. They've been there 9 generations. What they suffered is unacceptable. Like, the level of trauma, the level of death, the level of unjust bullshit, the level of manipulation from the government, and the level of lies that have been told to us in the media, it's just sickening. And every last one of those politicians, every last one of those media stations like Hawaii News Now, they're all liars. Every last one of them lied about what happened. I was there and I offered my assistance, my footage. I even tried to make a documentary and everyone just runs. And no one cares that like hundreds of our people are dead and died in the worst way possible. Burned alive, bro. Because someone didn't want to fuck up the budget. It's all to do. Hawaiian Electric asked millions of times to change those poles. Everyone involved with the development of the solar had asked the government for $190 million to change that grid into a smart grid. The solution is change your grid to a smart grid. That's the solution. Tesla saw it in the beginning, and now it's happening right now. The Palisades is a direct, exactly what I said was going to happen, happened again. And I said this 100 times. This can happen anywhere, to buildings, to houses, to Hawaiian homelands. All Hawaiian homelands projects are generated through photovoltaic, hydroelectric, or wind turbine energy. Our people as Hawaiians are the most at risk to die from something like this because our grids are the most under cared, most underappreciated, and oldest. Whatever grid we have in Hawaiian homelands and Aloha was installed over 50 years ago, right? But Aloha is all powered through solar. My family lives there. All it takes is that pole to fall, the wrong pole to fall, arc the inverter, and direct current goes into the homes of every living person there. The only way the fires go out is when the poles stop falling.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I honestly don't know if they know. I honestly don't know. I know some people do.
Maybe after this, they'll know.
I'm not trying to blame anybody. I haven't mentioned any names.
Yeah.
But I know that none of this happens without legislature. And if I speak on this, I know everything I said is not wrong because it can happen. There is no denying that if you cut off the transmission line to the power inversion station and the relay breaker malfunctions and the solar energy pours into the relay breaker and more poles fall and somehow the direct current makes its way into one line, it will send DC into the grid and burn every house from the inside out and kill everyone that is down there. This first time in history that the cars are melting. What other explanation do you have? How's the ground getting hot? It's because the water lines are being pumped with DC, the copper, the street lights. All the ground's energy is being superheated because it's arcing. Now, tell me one place that solar was not anywhere present that these wildfires has happened. Do wildfires happen in Texas? They don't, right? Because Texas doesn't believe in this democratic agenda of renewable energy. It's a corporational business, bro. You know what I'm saying? We've been off of this electricity, like Kauai doesn't even, no more gas generation, no nothing. Elon Musk created a hydroelectric generator down there that powers the whole island. There is no reliance on energy down there other than the Koloa stream. The Koloa stream and Elon Musk partnered up, and Kauai no longer generates power from gas generators, although the Hawaiian homelands communities get theirs from solar.